It was just last week that President Obama leveled the blame on law enforcement officers.
If police organizations and departments acknowledge that there's a problem and there's an issue, then that too is going to contribute to real solutions. And as I said yesterday, that is what's going to ultimately help make the job of being a cop a lot safer.
What the president said, as labored as his saying was, has sent shockwaves through law enforcement through this country. Joining us tonight here in Cleveland, Congressman Ron DeSantis. He's a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, as well as the Judiciary and Oversight Committees. Congressman, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
We wish you a successful convention. To hear the President of the United States say those words stuns me as a citizen. I mean, it really does. How do you react? How is the Republican Party reacting?
I think this is angering a lot of Americans because this is just wrong. When there's terrorist attacks, even if the terrorist is saying Allahu Akbar, the president will always say, oh, caution, don't jump to conclusions, we don't know.
Right.
It took him 4 years to call the Fort Hood attack terrorism. They said it was workplace violence. And yet, if you have a police officer, if there's any type of interaction, he's first one out of the gate to condemn the police. And we're just sick of it. And you look around this convention, all the cops who are sitting there guarding it, they've been figuratively a target for years now with all the rhetoric. Now what we're seeing in places like Baton Rouge and Dallas, they are literally targets of people who are trying to assassinate them.
And one hopes, any citizen, I believe, in this country, hopes that those law enforcement officers understand how much the communities and regular citizens, we're all for them. To put in context what the congressman just said here, this convention center is surrounded by, it's over 5,000 law enforcement officers, and 2,000 of them, 500 of them come from Cleveland, 2,000 are from out of state, and the rest are federal. Selective Service, all of the agencies protecting the candidates and all the people here. It is a gargantuan undertaking. And without those folks, I mean, I'd like to see, you know, if law enforcement's such a problem, let somebody say, well, all right, our community no longer wants law enforcement. I mean, this is ridiculous. The dialogue has become absurd.
And you're creating a climate. It's a tough job, even in the best of circumstances. And you have to go in, and when there's problems, you have to run towards the problems. And you have to potentially sacrifice yourself in order to protect the public. And what the president's doing in rhetoric like his, it's making it much more difficult for them to do an already difficult job.
I've got to turn to Congressman Ryan. At a Wall Street Journal lunch today, and I just want to quote this, saying Trump is a conservative, just not my kind of conservative. I come from a different part and wing of the party. You know, he's a very tiresome fellow because he keeps saying the same thing. He's a never-Trumper, yet he's being accorded every respect at this convention. Trump has reached out to him on every instance. At what point do you guys in the House say you've had a bellyful of this? Or maybe you haven't. Maybe it's great for you.
Well, here's the thing. You're never going to agree with any nominee going all the way back. I mean, to Reagan, probably people had disagreements. Do you want to focus on the disagreements, or do you want to say, we have a big fight right here that we have to win in a few months, and let's try to unite and do that? And I think that there's been too much emphasis on, well, I disagree with him on this or that or whatnot. If you notice, when Romney was the nominee, there were a lot of people that had disagreements with him, and they basically supported him.
Yeah, they stood up. He lost by just about 3 million votes. Most of those votes, by the way, were in New York and California. People don't realize that. It could have been so much closer if he had fought half as hard for himself as he has against Donald Trump. Is Ryan short-term, or is the party going to put up with him?
Well, I think a lot will depend on what happens in this election. If you have an incoming Republican president, that president's going to have a lot of ability to try to shape who he's working with in the Congress.
I think we call that a lot of juice.
No, there's no question about it, and that it changes the dynamic significantly.
Is the rank and file in the House going to, I mean, how are you guys pleased to put up with this kind of dynamic? We're watching Trump close in the polls. They are, in the most recent poll, two points apart. What's the Republican
Well, a lot of it
view?
depends. The results, when the results come in, that changes people's behavior. And so we're going to have a big election in November, and people will be able to see what the fallout from that is. And you're going to see some things happen with the party one way or another. And that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, it is interesting to watch the establishment of the Republican Party. And Ryan certainly represents that. 17 years in the House. By the way, he's passed 3 whole bills. I'm counting. Yes, I am counting. And you've got Jeb Bush and John Kasich here. These are the establishment people that Trump is running against.
Well, I can tell you just from talking to people here, even people who say that Trump's not their first choice, what they resent is when Republicans are attacking our nominee with a greater ferocity than they have ever attacked Barack Obama. Because Romney was never as tough on Obama as he's been on Trump. And so I think that people respect the disagreements, but at the end of the day, we had a president who was trying to fundamentally transform the U.S., and we didn't go after him very hard in 2012, not at all.
And by the way, Congressman, as you and I have talked, you're one of the few that did do so and still does so, and I want to give you credit for that. And I think I see true, pure resentment on the part of the president right now that he understands he was not successful in fundamentally transforming America, as this convention, I think, is about to demonstrate. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Congressman Ron DeSantis.
Appreciate it.